And I think this idea of having commitment, right? If you say that you're going to do something, you do it, because your word becomes your bond.
Right. I feel like today that's often lacking. And same with integrity. There are people who say, I have integrity, or our company is built on the core values of integrity, but then they violate it. And I don't know if they do it on purpose or it's accidental. I sometimes call it accidental hypocrisy. Like, you know,
I love that.
Yeah. We have integrity and then they don't do the right thing. And it actually breaks the trust.
You're listening to The Pivotal Leader, where modern leaders talk about the moments that shifted their organizational cultures and pivoted their teams to success. Hey everybody, this is Gina Trimarco, Chief Results Officer of Pivot 10 Result, a strategy and training company that helps businesses shift from people problems to performance results. Each week on The Pivotal Leader, I feature inspirational leaders who know how to positively impact their customers, employees, and brand through culture building. But before we jump in, here's a pivotal fact. Your survive versus thrive ability hinges on your investment in your employees and your customers. If you don't provide meaningful, purposeful training and growth opportunities for your employees and results for your customers, well, they just might leave you and head straight for your competition. If you're looking for fresh ways to keep your stakeholders engaged, shoot me an email at gina@pivot10.com or visit our website at pivot10.com. Well, in this episode of The Pivotal Leader, I interviewed Carlos Vaz, CEO and co-founder of Texas-based Conti Organization, a thriving commercial and multifamily real estate investment company whose portfolio is valued at more than $400 million. Carlos's passion, discipline, and creativity, coupled with his extensive real estate experience, have yielded a portfolio of over 1,400 units in his first year in the multifamily business. He's passionate about building a solid, vertically integrated company with strong core values, proven systems, and an adept team. Carlos directs strategy, team building, investment sourcing, and capital origination at Conti. Since getting involved in the multifamily game in late 2007, the market has benefited from strong population growth and a shortage of single-family homes. He looks for properties with at least 150 units, but no more than 500. His approach is very cash flow driven. Thus, his company focuses on acquisitions and not ground-up development. As CEO, he directs strategy, team building, investment sourcing, and capital origination. The second youngest of 9 children and one of 6 boys, Carlos came to the United States around 2000 from his home country of Brazil with just $300 in his pocket. Love these dream stories. He began working at the age of 7 at the family farm and his father's butcher shop. He eventually entered a federally funded law school in Brazil, but became frustrated with professors routinely going on strike. This motivated him to secure an apprenticeship at a Boston law firm. As the internship was unpaid, Carlos worked multiple jobs while interning and taking classes through Harvard's extension program. After his internship ended, he started working in construction and ultimately built a construction company. He then started working in the mortgage industry while maintaining his construction company and buying and flipping houses. This is a busy guy. By 2007, he purchased his first apartment complex and then formed Conti, named in honor of his mother, Neusa Conti. Since its inception, Conti has closed deals involving more than 5,000 units and $400 million in value. Carlos is now a U.S. citizen, and he says he feels a great deal of gratitude for the opportunities that he has been afforded. America has given him the chance to provide homes and jobs for others. He has received several awards, including Dallas Business Journal's 40 Under 40 Award, Real Estate Forum Magazine's 35 Rising Stars in the Industry Under the Age of 35, and a finalist for the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year. He's also a 2-time recipient of the Dallas 100 and Inc. 5000 awards. As a recognized thought leader in the multifamily industry, Carlos also is a member of the Urban Land Institute, the Young Presidents Organization, Tiger 21, the Real Estate Council of Dallas, and a board member of the National Multifamily Housing Council. He's currently enrolled in the Harvard Business School OPM program. Actually, pretty sure he just graduated, so we'll talk to him about that. Let's dive into this episode and learn from Carlos. I'm sure there is so much to learn from someone who has come to this country and has really turned his life into the American dream. Hello, Carlos. Thanks for joining me on the Pivotal Leader podcast today.
Hello, how are you doing?
Awesome. We're recording this at a time that's just before Thanksgiving. I love someone who's still in the office like I am the day before when everybody is gone. I think we get a lot done when that happens. So thank you for taking time out for me today. And, this podcast is a lot about culture and creating cultures in organizations. And I really believe that the best organizations are the ones who are led by leaders who recognize the importance of culture. And I was really interested in having you on our podcast because I'm instantly attracted to anybody who has come to this country and worked really hard to make things happen. I'm the daughter of immigrants, and so that means a lot to me. And I really think it has impacted my entire career in how I was raised on work ethic. So that's why I'm really excited about having you on here today. Your background is really interesting and fascinating and inspiring. So one of the things I'd like to start out with is, how do you think everything that you've gone through in your life impacts your organizational culture? I know that you have 10 core values, and I'd love to hear you, mention those too, because I really love core values. So how do you think all of that has impacted your business?
I think in every single way, right? If I look at my business, it's sometimes people say that the personal side is not different from the business side, right? The way I do business, it's one way. The way I am personally is something else. Actually, I don't believe that. I think that our business decisions are just a reflection of what we believe personally. So the baggage that I have, and the baggage that every single person has an impact in what they do, in the way they behave at work, and the way they build their company, right? So in my case, like you mentioned, right, I came here with nothing. That's another podcast in itself. Has to work my way through, and always with a lot of gratitude for this country and for the people that I met. Of course, I had to eat my fair share of humble pie. Right, it's not Carlos can do. Is that what can we do? And what I realized is that you always need, in a certain way, you need to take action, right? I say that all the time, make it happen. How can you make things happen? But at the same time, how can you respect every single person that you meet? Mm-hmm. When I look at my business, it's a reflection of that, right? Everybody in the office, they have the attitude, right? How can you make things happen? They're always trying to push. They're always trying to make themselves better. And also, they know that respect is really important. It's part of who we are. Mm-hmm. So that's how I see that on the personal side has impacted so much my business side.
I agree with you on that. I think that there is no difference between the personal and professional. I think our personal really does transcend and impact the professional. And when you're trying to be two different things, I think that's where people fall into challenges. So I agree with you on that. Let's talk a little bit about your core values. Sure. The one that sticks out to me is your core value of knowledge. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I know, especially because did you just finish your program at Harvard?
Yes, I just was a 3-year program. I was from the Harvard Business School. It's the OPM for owners of company and president of companies. Unbelievable program. A 3-year was not easy. I mean, the most challenging part of the whole program was the fact that I missed my wife's birthday for 3 years. So.
I hope you made it up to her.
Yes, well, she has a lot of credit on my book. Very thankful for her. So going back to one of my core values, which is knowledge, right? Once I was listening to Lou Holtz, the famous football coach, and he had an amazing saying, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. Yeah. Look at the trees. Even the trees, if they're not growing, they're dying. Yeah. I think we need to look at that to ourselves. We can never, I would say, we never know enough. Well, how can you make yourselves better? How can you surround yourselves, like for someone listening to your podcast? I don't think that someone can ever, you learn so much that you're going to change yourself completely, but you're always getting some good nuggets, right?
Right.
I think life is a combination of good nuggets. This is something interesting. And then you're shaping yourself.
Yeah.
In a very kind of methodical way, but small steps at a time. Mm-hmm. So to me, I think that I always say that I put the mirror and I look at myself, how I can improve myself. Because the more I'm improving myself, first of all, I'm leading by example. I'm showing that to my kids, I'm showing that to the people I work with. Hey, look at Carlos. Carlos is pushing himself. I better push myself too. And also empower myself to become a better person. Empower myself how to become a better boss. And I hate the word boss. How can I become a better person to work with? How can I become a better father, a better husband? So knowledge is something that I'm always trying to achieve more. Right? So that's why it's something really important to me.
One of the things I read about you is something that you quoted. I think you may have been quoting someone else. You said, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance.
It's so true.
I love that. I love that.
I heard that once. Unfortunately, I don't know whoever mentioned. It's not mine. I cannot take the credit, but it's so true. And I've tasted my own ignorance. It's horrible.
Wow, that's awesome.
Bitter.
I've tasted my own
horrible.
ignorance.
It's bitter, and it's so expensive.
Yeah, it really is. But it's also an education, isn't it? I mean, just in your business alone, any mistakes that you make, that becomes part of your school tuition. You know, that becomes the education.
I mean, you're so right on that. I mean, and the education doesn't mean that the formal education. Any ways, and sometimes you're learning from talking to other people, right?
Right.
Listen to them. And so how can you learn from everybody that you meet, right?
Right.
Of course, there's so many courses, and that's another beauty about the U.S. The access to education, either online or going to any course out there, it's unbelievable, right? So I think that it's part of how can you improve yourself. And the interesting part, right? I do like Theodore Roosevelt. He had the saying that I love the saying, right? He's saying that you should put yourself in such a shape that when opportunity comes, you're ready to take advantage of them.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that you should be always trying to learn a little bit more, because when something comes, so now I need to learn. It's too late, right?
Right.
So so it's almost the same, right? So if you think education is expensive, try ignorance, because you're not only making mistakes, but you're missing so many opportunities, right? And what I was going to say is that many times some of these opportunities are going to come 1, 2, or 3 years ahead,
right?
And we're just improving ourselves to be able to take advantage of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's staying a step ahead of the game all the time.
Sure.
I know that knowledge is such an important value to you, and at the top of this podcast, I already kind of gave a recap of your story and how you came over here. So you were in Brazil and you were trying to go to law school, and they were always striking, and,
yes.
and you could go to law school for free, and you decided, you know what, I'm going to pack up and go to America and get an internship and, ultimately pay for school once you're here. Where do you think that stemmed from for you? What was your passion that pushed you into, first of all, trying to go to law school?
I think that, I was studying, right? It's very thankful to one of my sisters said, listen, doesn't matter what we do, try to stay in school. Both my parents, they're not even finished third grade education. And I do believe that any good parent, you try to do the best you can to raise a child. And that's what my parents did. And education was not as important, and I respect them for that. And they just trying to raise good kids and can become good adults later on, and go ahead and just be good citizens, right? So that sense of responsibility, the idea of families, the core of everything, was always in my family.
Yeah.
So the idea of being able to going to law school, one day I can help my family. So I think that came a little bit more from the environment, that mainly for my sister trying to push me.
Yeah.
But the biggest challenge was when the school was on a strike, and make that decision to come to the U.S. was not an easy decision, because first of all, I didn't have the resources. I got here with $300 in my pocket. But mainly, you're going to a place that, you don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know what you can expect. But in my mind is that just do the best you can, like always, be respectful for everyone. And the people you're going to be working with, how can you help them to become very successful? And that's something I even do, even these days. I was even talking to a friend of mine this morning, and because we deal with a lot of investors, and I say, you know what, what I love the most about my investors is not the investment itself. They became so many close friends that I have an extra incentive to go above and beyond and work together.
Right.
Because that's pretty much who I am. And I think that is part of life, right? When you try to push yourself to do the best you can, right?
And I'm a big believer in relationship-based selling. So, whether you have investors or clients, or when you can build really good, trusting relationships that you then consider them your friends, it actually helps you both personally and professionally. It builds a better business. Think about integrity. I know that's another strong core value for you. That builds really good relationships when you're a person of integrity, right? And you do what you say you're going to do.
Yes.
I love all of your core values. Is there another one that kind of sticks out is another super important one?
Just one point that you mentioned to me is fundamental, right? One of our three uniques is definitely relationships. And you just mentioned something in that, and I agree 100%. Relationship is what I say all the time. I really don't care if you're the owner of the company or if the person cleaning the floor. The respect has to be the same.
Yeah.
I think that many times what set us apart in the greater Dallas area in finding projects is people, they really know that any person to do business with, we do care that relationship, right? Even if you're not going to do business, I'm talking to you today, Gina, and we're talking being respectful because you never know about tomorrow. And,
absolutely.
I think the world is full of jerks. You just don't need to be another one. So how can you be someone? How can just next time you want to be a jerk, just look at the mirror. Don't do that. There's the same thing that you can be said bad. You can take the time. Hey, good morning. How are you doing today? Hey, have a nice day. So I think the relationship is really that point, right? It is important to us.
Yeah. It's about being human.
Yeah, it is. Now going back to the core values, I mean, as you know, I have 10 core values that I mean, you touch one of them, which is integrity. Integrity to me is just not something that you say to make you look nice.
Right.
If you want to say that one, because do you wake up in the morning and you say to yourself, today I'm going to have more integrity or I'm going to have less integrity? No.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a flat line. It's who you are, right? So it's, of course, integrity many times is going to put you in a tough situation. You might be against the wall and the rock, right? So what am I going to do now? But it's always the integrity, right? You deep inside, we all know when you're doing the right things.
Right.
So I think that if you have the right integrity, you're able to develop trust with everyone you work with. And trust, to me, is the most important thing to build power teams inside of a company. So in the beginning of this year, in 2017, when we have our company meeting, I raised my hand and say, look, guys, in 2017, my mission is only one, and that's it. I'm going to build a massive amount of trust inside of Conti. How can you become vulnerable? If you have this integrity that's going to generate this trust, if you have trust, right? There is a great book that I love, is The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. Right?
Yeah, I love
If you
Patrick.
have trust, what you can have? You have healthy conflicts. If you're able to have healthy conflicts, you have commitment. If you have commitment, you have accountability. If you have accountability, you have outstanding results. And that's what we look at. So integrity is really that huge part. And then as I'm looking at everything, I would say commitment, right? Commitment is a very important word to me. I think sign a piece of paper is just a formality. When you shake someone's hand, for instance, hey, Gina, I'm going to do this for you, X, Y, and Z. So on my book, that's all I needed.
Right.
Of course, eventually we're going to sign some paper, but now I have a commitment to you. I say, hey, Gina, I'm going to meet you at this place. And sometimes when I get late, if for some reason, I feel so bad because I'm being respectful to you. And I think this idea of this, of having commitment, right? If you say that you're going to do something, you do it because your word becomes your bond.
Right. I feel like today that's often lacking. And same with integrity. There are people who say, I have integrity, or our company is built on the core values of integrity, but then they violate it. And I don't know if they do it on purpose or it's accidental. I sometimes call it accidental hypocrisy. Like, you know,
I love that.
yeah, we have integrity, and then they don't do the right thing, and and it actually breaks the trust. It hurts the trust, because how can you trust that?
100%. And the interesting part about integrity, and we say this in the office all the time, say, listen, the way you behave, being a good steward for $5 cannot be different than being a good steward for 5 million. If there is a difference because they have more zeros, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Your behavior has to be the same. So the way you behave, so it comes back to the respect, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say that goes right back to the respect thing. You
Exactly.
treat everybody the same way, no matter what level they're at.
No matter the level. So it's because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. This idea, I'm better than you. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that today, and it was some great points that I was learning back at HBS, and the whole idea that we don't need empathy. No, we don't need sympathy. We need much more empathy.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't know if I can talk to you anymore, because I do training for companies based on empathy. So
it's empathy is the source of everything.
Right.
It's not the idea that you can be the most, the smartest person in the room, right? But if you are a jerk, you're going to be the smartest, lonely person in the room.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants to talk to you. No one wants to do anything with you.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole idea of empathy, it comes to those same values, right, that you mentioned. And you're an expert on that. Every time you're working for companies, you see that, firsthand, right? You're talking to the people, and they're going to listen to you because that's what you bring to the table, your knowledge. This idea of empathy is the source of everything. But it comes the integrity one side, trust right there, respect, all comes together, right?
I'm so happy to hear you talk about empathy, because this is, something that as a company we try to push, and it's kind of a soft and fuzzy word, and not always the easiest one to sell. And same thing with emotional intelligence. I talk about, if you don't have those things, then you can't build relationships of trust, and then you can't build a good business. And it all comes back down to empathy. I also own an improv comedy theater, and we take a lot of the stuff from improv, and we use it in business because it's really about emotional intelligence. Well, the number one thing that we teach our students is to make the other person look good on stage. That's the number one rule. So imagine if you have to make other people look good and you have to take it off of yourself, what happens is that person looks good, but then you automatically look good, and then the team looks good. But going back to the jerk piece of it, if you're going to be a jerk and make someone look bad, and then you look bad, and then everybody looks bad, it's a losing proposition. So if you just go to this place of making other people look good, you're going to look like a rock star.
Of course. And have you ever felt good making anyone feel bad?
God, no.
That's the whole problem. I was even talking to a friend of mine the other day, very successful in business, and we're talking, and he was very upset. Something that happened. Said, Carlos, you know what? I so need to do something bad for them. And say, listen, what I learned, what life taught me, is that every time that I thought about doing something bad in a tiny little scale, and if I didn't listen to myself and I did it, it came back 1,000 times greater and hit me on my face, and I went to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't do it. At the same time, we need to be stewards of ourselves. What do I mean by that? Is that we need to be careful the people we want to have a relationship with, right? And that could be friends, everybody that comes into your life. If you have people that they believe who you are and vice versa, we'll grow together. But to have people with bad intentions and everything else, just say, listen, you go that way and I come this way, and that's it. And that's for friendship, that's for relationships, that's for business, for everything in life. In our office, it's interesting. We have a boat. The name of the boat is I Wish You the Best. Right? It's right in a conference room. So the story behind that is if you ever do something disrespectful, something that is not aligned to our core values, we're going to put on the boat. We'll just say, we wish you the best. We're never going to talk anything bad about you. We just wish you the best. We're never going to do business with you. And that's it. You just move on. Next.
I love that. I wish you the best.
Mm-hmm.
It can be just that simple and move on.
That's simple. And then move on.
When you go about building your team and adding to your team, what are some of the ways that you look to attract the top talent? And then what are some of the ways that you keep them with you?
Well, I can talk a lot about that because I'm very passionate about the culture, how we put the company together. There's a lot of things that we do. We do a lot of personality assessment.
Mm-hmm.
So we strongly believe that the way you're wired, there's an impact the way you behave at work. And not only you behave at work now, but how you're going to be in the next six months to 1 year. For instance, when you do a personality assessment for a new hire, if the person doesn't hit at least 65% or above, we're not going to even talk to you. We're very strict on that.
Yeah.
Because there's a disconnect on that one. But when you come, the most important thing for us, I don't care how smart you are. There's another person that I love him a lot. Unfortunately, he's passed away. John Wooden, the famous basketball coach.
Yeah.
And I was reading his bio, which was unbelievable, right? And he was saying, I can teach some people how to play basketball if they know. But there's one thing I can never teach anyone. It's called character.
Yeah.
It's so true. And for us, when you look in my company, the way you put things together, it's exactly the same. I'm not looking for the brightest guy. I'm looking for the person for the most amount of character that fits our core values.
Yeah.
People say that people are, many other owners of companies, they might say people are our biggest assets. Not necessarily. Mm-hmm. The right people who fits the company culture are by far our biggest assets.
Right.
Not everyone.
Right.
So the right people. And what are core values? Our core values inside of my company are 5 core values. That's how we breathe. We do everything based on them. So when someone pass our personality assessment, come to work and come to a job interview here at Conti, we're going to be focused on core values. We're going to be focused on how can you find the character behind. Does this person really have the integrity, which is our core value? Does the person really have excellence? Does the person really want to make a difference or be passionate or pursue growth and learning, which are all part of our core values?
Mm-hmm.
So then when we make that assessment, this person is going to come on board and be part of Conti. But once you be part of Conti, there's a lot of training that we want to do, which is part of our Conti. We're developing now the Conti University, that we want you to be taking classes or improve yourself to do what? To develop the trust. Right? Our job once you come on board, because we already know that you know that you have the knowledge, is how can the fastest we can build that trust among ourselves, that your idea does mean a lot to us. I do not want to hire, I will never hire anyone to be sitting in the corner of the office. Yes, sir. No, sir. That would be a nightmare person. I want someone to say, listen, Carlos, someone that comes and challenge me. Say, listen, your idea is good, but let me tell you my concerns. I said, wow, that's a good point. So why do you think like that? Because look at these points here. I think there's an issue, Carlos. That's exactly the type of attitude that people don't look at myself because I'm the owner of the company. I can say X, Y, and Z. Not necessarily. People that they say the company is more important than Carlos.
I think that kind of ties back to your core value of knowledge, and what a great leadership trait, because there are a lot of leaders who are like, don't come and tell me your ideas or tell me what's not or what the concern is about this idea. There are a lot who are very insecure with that. But because one of your values is knowledge, you're open to everybody teaching you.
And that's exactly the type of behavior I want in the office. Not only myself, I want to be able to teach other people, but I also want them to teach me. And I want that the same type of environment for every single person inside of the company. And I'll tell you, once you develop that one, why do you have outstanding results? I mean, in the history of the company, over 6,000 units. Not for bragging rights, we never lost any equity for our investors.
Oh.
I mean, our focus, how can you deliver results? You want to talk about results? Boy, because if you look at any company, right? If you look at any company, let's picture on your left hand, you have process and systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's picture on your right hand, you have execution, right? So what's the job of any CEO? It's how can I make this process meet execution, right? So then I can have my results. That's interesting. But now, in order for process to meet execution, you're gonna need what? You need people. But hold on a second. You don't need any person. You need the people that fit what? Fits the company culture, right? So now, once you have this company culture that's gonna be moving extremely fast, so if you want to have this core values inside of them moving very fast, and you have these few people that are coming in and they fit the culture, they're going to get this process. They're going to get this execution. They're going to meet those left and right all day. That's unbelievable. That's called results. We deliver. So, and that's not, and I say we because I get excited by my team. I mean, I tell many times that you want to see me upset, say anything bad about my employees. I mean, you're going to get the other side of me. Say, why are you talking to him like that? He's part of my family here. He's part of, that's what I would say. It's the Conti family.
Yeah.
That's why I get so excited. I think that's, and that should be the job, right? How can you have this empathy, again, to find these right people that they can join the company, and they see that their idea, someone wants to listen to that. Of course, you need to execute, but if you have an idea, put that on the table and fight for it. I say this all the time in the meetings. If you have an idea that's better than ours, just fight for it. Make a case for it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be your biggest fan.
I think it's important as a leader to teach people to make a case. I think a lot of people don't know that they can do that, or they don't feel safe doing that. And that's probably one of the best things I've learned from mentors is make a case for why we should do that and own it. Have some ownership in it.
And what's interesting is that sometimes people are afraid of being vulnerable, right? Oh, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be vulnerable in front of my staff. And at the end of the day, if you're really a true leader, I say that when I'm the most vulnerable, I am at my strongest.
Yeah.
So it's completely opposite.
Yeah.
So it's it's just, and you need to look at that. How strong is one person? You're very weak. I don't care how bright you are as one individual, but now if you scale that up to a team, it's a different story. Right? Your scalability is your team is all moving together. So we have they all on the same mission. So they're all doing their best. And if you look at our company, we all believe in the same purpose, right? Which is to benefit the lives of everyone we touch and to become the best multifamily operator in Texas. We're very simple.
It's really refreshing to talk to someone who knows what the mission is, right? A lot of people can't recite their mission, knows what the mission is, know what the core values are, knows what kind of culture they have and they want. How did you get help with that? Because a lot of people are kind of blind to it. Who coached you, helped you, advised you into getting to a place of creating culture, values, and mission?
First and foremost is the idea that you should always be learning, right?
Right.
So trying to see every person that you meet, how can you become better? I mean, that has to be that part of the number one. A lot of things that I need to be thankful for. Almost has been a little bit over 3 years ago. I had the chance to go to an event and I saw someone speaking about a book. It's called Get a Grip by Gina Whitman. I read the book and said, wow, this stuff is amazing. And I was talking to Stuart, my partner, and we both read the book and we're looking at each other and we're like, wow, this book is amazing. I know. And we're making fun. This is great. And how can you put the process in place? Initially, we're going to say, well, you know what? Let's do it ourselves. I said, no, I want to find the best person this year. So again, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance, right? So I want to find the best person that I can. We found this coach and I help us to implement the EOS. Started using that for now over 3 years. That was very powerful. How I was able to get our core values, our company, our 1 year, our 3 year, or 10-year plan. We're extremely focused. We're very boring as a company. I say that. We only do multifamily, real estate investments in Dallas. That's it. I mean, we only do one thing. We eat vanilla yogurt every day, and that's us. But I love it. I love it. I'm very.
You don't put any fruit in the yogurt?
No cinnamon, nothing. It's just plain, boring. That's me. And I'm happy. And say, really? Sometimes I'm talking to my investors, say, Carlos, no, 3 years ago you said this year, and you're still saying the same. I know. Isn't that amazing? I say, yeah. So yes, I love it. So it's because there's a great book by Chris Zook. It's called Profit from the Core, which is so important, right?
What is it called?
Profit
from the core.
From the core,
okay.
Which is, and he's so right. The more you understand your core, the deepest you can go inside of your core, the more you're going to be able to mitigate risks, right? Oh, hey, no, this is going to be a risk. The more you will be able to change quickly. If the markets change, adapt quickly, right? And then, we need to evolve a little bit to avoid change very quickly in the market. And the more profitable your own core is going to become. Instead of idea that I do multifamily, right? Or maybe I do office, maybe I do industrial. I will be a risk to myself. I can lose that so much. And that's something we have been able to see again and again inside of our own deals. So we started using EOS, which was fantastic, was great. On top of that, has been almost 3 years now as well. As I was mentioned, the personality assessment. We started work with a culture index here in Dallas, an amazing company. They work with all the staff, not only to improve the communication, which is as important as having hiring the right people. Start work with culture index and has been great. So being able to combine this EOS on one side, culture index on the other one, was extremely powerful. On top of that, I'm always looking to improving. We're always taking classes. We're always trying.
What are your favorite or top conferences that you go to as a CEO to? For instance, you went and you heard Get a Grip, and I do want to talk to you about EOS in a second. But what are some of the top conferences that you would attend that are not necessarily industry related?
Oh, not industry related. I would say that's not industry related. Anything that you can see, of course, for those people inside of YPO, I'm also involved with YPO. I think that's a good one. What I like to do is that you can look at Forbes or sometimes Harvard Business Review, and you get, let's say, the top 10 books for the year, something that I like to do. And look at this top 10 books. Who are these people? And many times you see these people are speaking in some events. I've done that many times. I say, what? There's this guy here. I love him. He's amazing. Let me go check it out. When is the next time, let's say, Jim Collins is speaking, right? Boom, Jim Collins, he's going to speak at this place. Yes, I go there. Action is something important, right? So there's that saying, right? People are not afraid of your ideas. They're afraid of your capacity to execute. It's very important.
I love that. It's so true.
Yeah, sometimes, look at me. I know this. And what have you done? Oh, great.
Well, thank you for that. That's a great tip. I always like to find out where CEOs and leaders want to go to advance themselves. I know a lot about YPO and Vistage and EO, and there's all those organizations to help. Going back over to EOS, this seems to come up a lot on these podcasts. I'm finding that very successful leaders are huge advocates of EOS, and it's really intrigued me to become an EOS implementer because we're a strategy company that helps businesses in training and creating strategies for culture. So you think it was worth the investment to do that?
Hands down. I would. There's no way I'll look at my company, not even my dreams. I'll look at where we are today. There's so many valid points. First of all, one of the most important things is Stuart and myself, we start seeing more things on the same page. Stuart is my partner. Oh, by the way, something that I always say that it's important. I said that in life, perhaps the two most important decisions that you're going to make is that if you ever get married, whoever you choose has a big impact. And if you ever choose a business partner, whoever you choose. So a certain way, God was kind to me. He gave me a very good wife, extremely amazing wife, and an amazing partner. But the beauty about the EOS, going back here, Gina, is we used to wear too many hats. I think any company in the beginning, you're going to see the founder being the operator, being the guy raising equity, being the cleaning guy. That's part in the beginning, right? So it's then it's him and one person, then him and three people, right? Trying to make the end. So you're wearing different hats. As you start to grow, you need to be careful for yourself because easily you can become the biggest asset, but you can become the biggest liability. So you need to be very careful. And as we start growing as a company, so like what the EOS was able to do is that looking now, steward myself on a EOS language. I'm the visionary, steward, my partner, integrator, right? Was able to, how can you separate these two so two people are not doing exactly the same? So gave us a lot of clarity. Who is doing what at any given time? Also, now let's see what are the things that we need to remove. The integrator would be the equivalent of our COO or president, right? What are the things that the COO needs to be focused on? What are the things that the CEO needs to be focused on, right? That vision, looking what's coming, right? So how can someone be an outside? How can it be on the inside? The US was able to do that one. Now, let's identify who is in every seat of the company, right? Who is inside of in my company, in acquisition, in operations, in finance, in sales and marketing. Are they leaders? Do these people, they really get it? Do they really want it? Do they really have the capacity? That's all kind of EOS language, right? And now let's start to see the plan. Let's start to see where we are today. And let's really talk about the core values as this company. So what do you guys believe the core values are? Well, I believe, there's no I believe. There's put on a piece of paper. Now, what is that? Does that sound? And is that something that everybody believes or just you two? Right? So all this stuff on the EOS will start to make a lot of sense. And there's a lot of some techniques, how to hire, how to make the questions. Our weekly meetings, right? You always have this quarterly meetings with your coach, right? You're meeting, you're checking, because every quarterly meeting is feeding a 1 year goal. That's going to be feeding a 3-year plan. That's going to be feeding a 10-year plan. So, and you start to put that together. I cannot say enough about the US. It was worth every single penny.
That's great to hear because I swear it comes up on every podcast. So I actually started looking. I mean, and I haven't read Get a Grip yet, but I have most all of his books except that one. And I'm like, maybe we should investigate that and add that to our offerings because it seems to keep coming up.
Yeah, no, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid and I love it.
Well, awesome. Well, just one more quick question. If there is one piece of advice that you could give to a rising CEO or COO on a strategy that they should have in their playbook, what would that one piece of advice be?
I would say so many things that you can say, right?
Yeah.
First of all, make it happen. Make it happen, meaning that never give up. Always do your best. Keep learning. Keep always pushing yourself, learn a little bit more. And as you're improving yourself, take the time to empower the people next to you to become leaders themselves.
I love that.
So don't make life just about yourself. Empower the other people to become leaders. And then if it's inside of you, which is very inside of myself and my company, give it back. Give it back to charity, give it back to other places. Not only empower to build other leaders, but make your cities where you live a better place.
Thank you. If people want to connect with you or learn more about you, what is the best way to do that?
You can find my LinkedIn, Carlos Vaz. You can go to my website, contiorg.com. And you got my email. Feel free to send me an email.
Okay, great. We'll include all that in the show notes. I want to thank you so much for your time today, especially it's like the day before Thanksgiving. And I really appreciate your time and, the knowledge piece that you talk about. When we created this podcast series, it was to have an opportunity to highlight leaders so that others could learn from them. And it's my personal MBA program that I never anticipated would happen because I learned so much from every person on the podcast. So thank you for sharing your knowledge today.
My pleasure. I'm almost envious of your position because you get so many of these great people come and share their knowledge.
Yeah. And Keith, Keith who introduced us has become, I don't think I've shared this with him, but he's become a mentor to me and has introduced me to other people. And this is a really sweet spot to be in because I interview these amazing people every week. And now Keith is like, you need to write the book and put all those people in the book.
Yes.
So thank you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Gina. I do appreciate it. All the success to you.
Thank you.
Have an unbelievable Thanksgiving.
Thanks, you too. So just hold on one second. We're going to wrap up. Thanks everybody to listening today to The Pivotal Leader. You can find show notes for this episode, including contact information for Carlos on our website at thepivotaleader.com. The Pivotal Leader is a production of Pivot 10 Results, a strategy and training company that helps businesses shift from people problems to performance results. Remember, you can find our podcast on iTunes. And if you're an iTunes subscriber, please leave a rating and a review. And don't forget to email me with any questions you might have about employee engagement and customer acquisition at gina@pivot10.com. And until next time, if you're feeling stuck in your business, it's probably time to pivot.
You've been listening to The Pivotal Leader. To learn more about how to shift your culture and pivot to success, visit pivot10results.com. That's pivot10results.com.